Welcome to CGTN. I'm Taoyuan. Let me show my face. We're live for you on the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau. Behind me, this river, it's called the Tuotuo River. It's the headwater of the mighty Yangtze River of China, the mother river of China. And we're live for you at around 4,600 high above sea level. And if you look behind me, if you see the buildings over there, if you drive a little bit further down the building, and there's a little opening, and that's an opening into the mountains of this area, and that area is about 5,000 meters above sea level, and that's where we have been shooting and filming nature the past couple of days. So pretty harsh condition, but very beautiful scenery, as you can see. If we just pan the camera a little bit, let me introduce our location a little bit. This red brick house that you're seeing right now is a conservation station, and the people inside this house are the ones that we've been profiling recently. They have been dedicating their lives to protecting the Tuotuo River here. This river is as I said, is the headwater of the Yangtze River, but there's a Chinese saying that goes, the Yangtze River doesn't refuse any small waters. So this is one of the many, many headwaters of the Yangtze River. It's recognized as the official headwater because it doesn't necessarily provide the most water, but it's the longest running water. And this area, this large area, the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau that we know, is called the roof of the world for its high altitude. It's also called the third pole for its natural environment. Let's just walk a little bit, and we're going to be touring the conservation station here today, meeting a lot of interesting people and trying to figure out the things that they're doing to try and protect the environment. So we're just going to walk a little bit, and this is our first station. If you see this cage right now and this little girl who's standing outside of this little cage. So very high altitude, like I said. So I'm a little bit short on breath, so bear with me. This bird that we're seeing right now, it's called a buzzard. I have to admit, I didn't know that name before. Apparently, it's a type of hulk that feeds on fresh meat. So local railway workers found this bird injured near the railway, and they brought this bird to this conservation station. The workers at this conservation station here told me that this bird is injured on its paw, so they have been taking care of this bird for the past 2 to 3 days. They said that the bird's wound is recovering, and once it's fully recovered, they're going to release this bird back into the wilderness. They've been feeding it the fresh meat. 看看那个肉. Now, apparently the bird is feeling better, so it's constantly wanting to get out of this cage. The conservationists here told me that this is very natural. It's also very natural for the local people who work in this area to bring the injured animals here to this conservation station once they found them wounded. So people here don't really know how this bird got hurt, but we can see the road behind me and also the little houses over there. That's a railway station. These roads are really hard. These transportation routes were really hard to pave because, like I said, the terrain is really harsh here. It took years and years to build these roads, to build these transportation facilities. They really, they have, and they are expected to in the future to bring economic prosperity into this area. But it also brought environmental problems because as tourists flock to this area, they bring trash and, you know, they bring human activities. So that's probably how these birds and other wild animals get injured. I was told that last week, the local people here brought an injured Tibetan antelope, which is really the celebrity wildlife in this region, a baby Tibetan antelope that they found injured to this conservation station. Unfortunately, that baby Tibetan antelope didn't survive. It died. So we also want to remind the people who travel to this region to bring your trash with you and not to throw it on the ground. And that's also another main task of this conservation area. They want to find a way for tourism, human activity, economic activities to coexist with nature. And we're going to wander a little bit into this area that we're seeing you're seeing a lot of empty plastic bottles. That's another project that this conservation station is engaged in. They're trying to mobilize the local people, predominantly Tibetan people. This is a predominantly Tibetan area. So the mountains that I told you earlier where we have been filming at, it's really a vast area of grassland inhabited by very few Tibetan nomads. A large area inhabited by very few people. But as tourism flock to this area, you can really feel the impact on the environment. So hopefully projects like this one, recycle projects like this one, can help. And we are going to check out this little red house here. This is my favorite place in this conservation station. Okay, let's go. We're going to go inside the house and I'm going to tell you more about this area, and we're also going to meet some people who are now working inside this house. You can see there's a girl here. She's a volunteer, and we're going to be talking to her soon. This is a post office. It's called the #1 Yangtze River Post Office. I love that name. So this is another project that this conservation station is engaged in. So they're trying to build 11 of these themed Yangtze River post offices alongside the Yangtze River. This is the very first one. That's why it's called the #1 Yangtze River Post Office. This is established last year, and they're going to establish 10 more in the coming years. The second one will be in Shanghai, which is the ending point of the Yangtze River, and that's going to be completed next year. They're in the negotiation process right now. Okay, we're just gonna take a quick look at this post office. You can see a lot of postcards right here. See, this is my favorite. These are two people with cameras right here. This is what local photographers and conservationists have to do to get a shot of wildlife because they're easily intimidated by humans. And here it's a printer. Right now it's not working, unfortunately, but when it's working, you can actually take a picture and print it out and post it to yourself. I think that's pretty cool. And we're gonna talk about a little bit about this wall. This is a very impressive wall. This is one of the glaciers on the upper stream of the Yangtze River that provides water to the Yangtze River and the Tuotuo River that we just saw. This mosaic is completed by a volunteer with old newspaper. It took him a month to complete this. I think it's quite wonderful to see. Postcards right here. I actually posted a lot of these postcards to myself and my family and friends. If you want one of those, email us or send us a private message, and we'll draw 5 lucky audience members to post a card from the upper stream of the Yangtze River, the Tuotuo River, the roof of the world, 4,600 meters above sea level. That's a souvenir enough. Okay. A little coffee area for the volunteers and also the tourists who come to this region. 1 cup of coffee costs about 30 to 50 yuan. That's about, if you divide it by 6 or 7, that's $5 to $6 US. That's a lot of money for a cup of coffee, but things here are pretty much on a donation basis. So if you purchase a cup of coffee, that money then goes back to conservation work. I think that's a pretty cool idea. And like I said, we now have the chance to talk to some of the people who keep this place running. This girl right here, can you sit down, please? Can you first tell us your name and what you do?
My name is Wang Rufei, and I'm the new volunteer here. This is actually the 3rd day I came to this region, and this is the first time I've ever been to a plateau, so it's a great challenge for me.
So let me just tell you a little bit about how this place is run. So they only have about 5 to 6 full-time staff. The rest of people are all volunteers. They usually come for how long? About a month?
A month.
About a month. And what are the kind of work that you have to do?
Well, the daily job includes reading temperatures every day, every morning, and monitoring the water quality, and collect garbage. And every morning we go along the street, the only road into the town, and take garbage, pick up some garbage cans, bottles, or something else, and put back there.
Right. The recycle station that we just saw, right? So you told us a little bit that you have been coping a little with altitude sickness. How do you feel right now?
I feel good and sick and dizzy all the time.
Yes. You told me you vomited.
Yeah, I throw up a lot. This morning I woke up at about 5 or 4 a.m. So I'm still a little bit sleepy. Yeah.
Do you know what kind of people usually have altitude sickness? Yeah, I don't know either, because different people have been telling me different things. They said people with the strongest and the weakest physical build are usually the ones who are most vulnerable. Those in the middle are usually cope with altitude sickness better. I've been on the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau for about 2 weeks now. I have to say, the first a week and a half, I haven't been feeling anything, so I felt fairly lucky. But starting from yesterday, I climbed a mountain yesterday. That was probably a bad idea. So today, I'm feeling a little bit dizzy in the head as well. I was told that you guys are required to just blank out for 3 days upon arrival. 2 days without doing anything. What's the purpose of that?
Well, maybe just adjust to the environment here.
Right.
Yeah, I've spent my 2 days just watching the skies, the birds, and it's beautiful. The clouds. I live in Beijing actually, and it's a typical metropolis, and life there is exciting and boring at the same time. So you know.
Right. I'm from Beijing as well. I mean, the traffic and the smog are a huge contrast with the environment right here, right?
You don't have the air like this place. Right. In Beijing.
So you haven't been feeling well. Do you regret your decision?
No.
Why not?
No, it's exactly what I expected. I want to be here. I want to be part of this job, this big process that's been going on here.
Right. Thank you very much. So that was a volunteer at the Tuotuo River Conservation Station, and we're going to, before we leave this post office though, I just want to show you this. Can you hold this for me? Yeah. This is a very Tibetan, just guess what this is. Originally, I thought it's a headwear like this, or a waistwear. But I was told that if I can find the piece of rock that I put in my pocket, I was told by the locals that Tibetan herdsmen actually put a piece of rock in the middle of this centerpiece, and then they sling this. Obviously, I'm not going to do it anymore. Whoops, because I don't want to destroy anything. 行，好的，好的。准备好了。Okay. I apologize to the Beijing office that the sound didn't go out when I was playing with this little thing, so we're gonna do it again right now. I have to hold the microphone with one hand. No, 我要自己拿着，因为他说刚才声音不行。So hold the microphone in one hand and play with this little thing. I earlier asked our audience members to guess what this is. Well, the answer is the Tibetan nomads who live in this region actually use this little device to herd goats, yaks, and other livestock. I originally thought that this is a piece of headwear because it looks so pretty. But how's the sound right now? I hope the sound is doing okay. But I was told that they actually put a little piece of rock in the middle of the centerpiece, and then they slang it. Obviously, I'm not going to do it anymore because I don't want to destroy anything. But just imagine there's a piece of rock in here, and then they sling it, and then they release one end while this little device is making a circular move so that the rock goes out. That's what they use to herd livestock. Interesting. Okay, how's the sound? Can we go to the next station now? I apologize again for the sound. Hopefully the second time was good enough. Oh, I brought this with me. I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to put it back. But, oh, let me do it later though. They actually sell these for about 100 yuan, which is, again, if you divide it by 6 or 7, that's about less than 20 US dollars. The money also goes into donation. It usually takes a Tibetan nomad about 2 days to make one of these, so I don't think it's that expensive. I think it's a fair price, actually. Okay, so this place, the Tuotuo River region, and also the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau by and large, it's a large conservation area in China on the Qinghai-Tibetan Plateau. In 2016, that's last year, the Chinese government actually established the very first pilot program of a national park. If you know anything about the national park, you know it's an American idea. China actually borrowed the idea from America. It's dubbed America's Best Idea by the documentary filmmaker Ken Burns. And the national parks here in China are actually quite different from the national parks in America. So local authorities who run the national parks told me that they're still in a lot of trial and error. They don't know what to do. One significant difference is actually the national park in China are inhabited by local people. So in this region, mostly Tibetan nomads. So how can human beings coexist with nature? It's a problem that they're trying to deal with. So I guess there's really no easy answer because conservation, it's bound to conflict with economic activities. For example, this place it's an important mining area in China, but since the establishment of the national parks, all mining activities have to stop, and that's bound to affect the economic prospects of the region. So they have to find other ways to thrive, probably through tourism and stuff like that, but that's going to create new problems. But it took decades for America to figure out how to run their national parks since the first one was established, the Yellowstone National Park was established, and it's only been 1 year since China established its first national park. So I guess there's bound to be some trial and error. It's only natural. We're gonna give it some more time and see what happens. And this room is really the main building of this Tuotuo River conservation area. And if we just look out of the window, you can see you have a nice view of the river. And 可以推到那个石头上吗? If we just zoom in the camera a little bit, you can see the horns of a wild, well, I was looking up how to say that animal in English. In Chinese, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's called the cliff goats, the cliff sheep. So you can tell from their name, they inhabit on cliffs, they thrive on cliffs. And that's a skull of that animal. I guess the English name is blue sheep. I don't know why. I think it sounds, yeah, I just don't get the name of that, but it's a real skull of that animal. when we were filming the past couple of days, we saw a lot of skulls like this out in the wilderness. So usually they're killed by snow leopards, which is also an endangered species. So right here, you can really see the circle of life and the food chain. This, like I said, this is the main building of this conservation center, and this is the dining area for the staff and volunteers. So, like you can see, it's not a very big table. At any given moment, they probably only have 10 people who keep this place running, and they have to guard a vast area of wilderness. So pretty tough work. We're just going to tour this building a little bit and see who we can catch. Earlier, I told a staff member here to wait for me in his office. Oh, he's here. Okay, let me introduce you. Mr. Huang Xiaohua. He's a staff member here. Okay, let me just introduce, I love this guy. So he used to be a chef, a Cantonese chef, and now he's doing conservation work. When he was recruited here, he was in charge of cooking for the people, so at least a little bit related to his old life. But right now, he's a full-blown conservationist, and also a documentary filmmaker who's trying to document what they're trying to do to protect a very iconic bird of this region. So he just pulled out this documentary film that he just made. Okay, can you play it for us a little bit? 有声音吗? Is there a sound? So this is inside those mountains that I just told you about. This is during snow season, obviously. That they have to lug with them in order to document wildlife. And also their tents and their daily supplies, because when they camp out, sometimes they have to camp out for up to 75 days out in an environment like this. So very amazing. This is a drone.
这是我们鸟钓的时候遇到的风雪，暴风雪。
This is the kind of storm that they encounter while conducting research work on wild birds. Wow. Oh, I want to introduce these birds to you. Can you pause? 暂停一下. The birds that you just saw, 给我们看看那个鸟，可以吗？ Right. Okay, so these birds. I'm going to pause a little bit for you to enjoy these wonderful birds, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about these birds. Okay, 好，暂停一下. Okay, we're going to pause the camera. I'm going to tell you a little bit about these birds. These are called the Bar-Headed Geese because you can see the two bars on their heads right here. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see. These are the highest flying birds in the world. They can easily fly up to 7,000 meters high. So every year around this season, maybe a little bit later, maybe in November, they migrate across the Himalayas to Nepal and India to spend the winter, and then they come back again the second spring to reproduce, to lay eggs. And the entire flight across the Himalayas usually costs them about 8 hours. That's amazing. 再播一下. And these are the birds that the conservationists here are trying to protect, because when they fly here to lay eggs, the local people used to pick their eggs for food. So their numbers once dropped to very low. Now they're trying to understand these birds better by capturing their living environment on film. They need a lot of special equipment for that. They usually appear in pairs, and birds experts say they're monogamous birds. Oh, God. 拍这个花了多长时间？
这个总共下来2个月。
It took them about 2 months to film this. 然后就都在外面住着吗？
对，都在外边住着。
So they camped out for the entirety of the 2 months. And then we have more footage to show their working condition once we finish enjoying these birds. See, the bars, really obvious. It's almost over. If you haven't had your full of the birds, make the fullest use of the last couple of seconds. Beautiful landscape. Okay, that's the birds, but I also do want to know more about the kind of working condition that you guys have to deal with day in and day out. 给我们看看你们那个居住的，就是你们平时野外作业的这种生活条件，给我们展示一下。
这个就是我们在营地，就我们那个4月份、5月份还经常下雪，然后我们在营地都是烧牛粪，煮饭什么也用牛粪。然后我们有时候下雪了，我们要把牛粪捡回去烤干了，才能烧。
Okay, so he was telling me that this is a very cold area, so it usually snows in April and May, so they have to pick. These are yak excrements. Yak poop. So they have to pick them in order to start a fire, to cook, to boil water. So this is what they have to deal with. These are the kind of tents that they have to live in. That's a bag full of yak poops.
这是我藏起来一袋干的牛粪，就是有时候怕碰到下雪没有牛粪烧，所以才拿出来烧的。
That's dried yak excremate. That's the most precious thing that they have out in the wild, so they're wowing. Wow. These tents are about the same with the ones that the Tibetan nomads live in. They actually borrowed these tents from the Tibetan nomads. Oh, wow, this is when you have to cross a river. 这是过河的时候。
这是那个岛上的设备出故障了，然后我们要去那个岛上去检修。然后那时候的冰已经很薄了，不能走在上面，所以要把它敲碎才能走过去。
这个是那个岛吗？
这是一个岛。
They had to get onto this island, this little island, to fix their equipment. At that time, the ice was already very thin, so they have to break it. They can't really walk on it, so they have to break it in order to wade through the waters. 你们在野外的时候怎么洗澡啊什么的？
我们在野外就不洗澡了，没有条件洗澡。
I asked him how did they take showers while they're camping out. He said they can't. Well, earlier he told me that you get used to it after a couple of days. Well, thank you so much, Xiaohua. That was a staff member here, Mr. Huang Xiaohua. He used to be a chef. Now he's a documentary filmmaker, encouraged by his boss. And we're going to wander a little right now to see if we can catch the boss guy. Oh, let me just show you this. This is a very famous Chinese star, if you're into Chinese drama. He's a volunteer here. He came here once in 2013 and then again in 2016 to pick garbage. Okay, this is the meeting room. Hopefully the boss guy is here. Yang Lao Shi. This is Mr. Yang Xin. He's the founder of this conservation station. He looks like an artist. And he's been working to protect the Yangtze River for the past 24年保护长江，是不是？30年。For the past 30 years, he's been working to protect the Yangtze River. 杨老师，那你给我们介绍一下这个站主要的工作目的是什么？
这个保护站呢，它第一呢，它是一个科学考察和保护的一个基地，然后呢，我们这儿主要是在周围的话，就开展野生动物和植物、水生生物的调查。
It's a conservation. It's a scientific base, and then around this base, they can conduct research work on the waters, the natural environment, and also the wildlife.
另外的话，就是我们在这儿解决的时候长江源的垃圾问题，因为随着就是我们现在的交通运输的发达，我们工业产品呢也大量的进入了青藏高原，但是呢，现在我们的垃圾回收系统还不太完善，所以说我们正在探索一个等于说垃圾收运的模式。比如说的话，我们在这里的话，就那个对周围的居民和牧民讲，这垃圾的话在这儿会污染你们的水源，污染你们的草原，你们的牛羊吃了之后会生病。那么这样的话，就是的话。你们不如把垃圾收集起来，交到我们保护站，我们来进行交换。你给我们拿10个矿泉水瓶子来，我可能给你一瓶矿泉水，还有其他垃圾拿过来以后，我们都可以垃圾换食品、换物品的方式，我们把垃圾收集在这里，然后的话，借助一些车辆，我们把它运走，来减少垃圾对长江水源地的污染。
Another one is waste recycle, the one I told you earlier. So they would collect the garbage and ask the tourists who would come to this region to bring the garbage with them into the nearest city called Ge'ermu, which is about 7 to 8 hours drive from this protection station. And they would also tell the herdsmen the waste would damage their livestock, would affect their health, just to improve their overall awareness of environmental protection. 谢谢杨老师。And I want to show you a little bit about these post boards. This one is Mr. Sonam Daji. He's a Tibetan conservationist who were the Tibetan antelopes that I told you earlier. They were in the 1990s and early 2000s. They were poached in the hundreds and thousands for their fur and skin. So Mr. Sonam Daji died while protecting the Tibetan antelopes. These are, as I told you earlier, the star animals of this region. They predominantly inhabit in the region called Holsil, which is China's latest World Heritage Site. And these photos are Mr. Yangtze when he was younger. So, like he said, he's been dedicated to the protection of the Yangtze River for the past 30 years. It's very interesting that he didn't tell you on camera just now, but earlier he told me that he never expected himself to live past 40 years old, because you really can't see the kind of environment that they work at day in and day out. See, you can get a glimpse probably from photos like this one. This is the kind of terrain that they have to drive through every day. We went on patrol with him yesterday, and their car got stuck in the mud. So really, I really respect them. And then we are going to go upstairs, the last stop of our program today. 上楼. It's a really simple conservation station, as you can see. But they work and live here, and it's quite comfortable. I've been to a couple of conservation stations, and I've come to realize that a lot of these people know how to make their lives comfortable, because when they work outside, they have to deal with really harsh environment, so they want to make their life at the station as comfortable as possible. The door ahead of me is open, so this is Yangtze, the founder's room. He doesn't know that we're inside. We're just going to take a sneak peek inside. The bathroom right here. And just a very simple room with a nice view, though. And he apparently lives and works in this room. Okay, this is just a little detour. Our final destination is over there. This is called the glass room. Can we just take a shot of the view? Before we came, is it snowing? 下雪了. It's snowing a little bit already. Not sure if you can, yeah, you can see. You can see it's snowing. Whoa. Wow, the road back is going to be a challenge, back to the cities. This is called the glass room. I heard a lot about this room. Mr. Yangxin told me a lot about this room even before we got here. Look at this tatami-style bed. Not sure if it's a bed, but it's got 3 seats right here. And I was told that this is where the volunteers have to blank out for 3 days upon arrival here. You know, just lay here and enjoy the view. That's what we did here when we got here the first night. And this is where we are going to end our live streaming with a nice view. Excuse me, this is what I'm going to be doing right now. You have been watching CGTN. Thanks for coming to our program, and we hope to see you again later. Bye.